My brother's kid walked into my son's room and left accidentally with his $1,600 gaming laptop. My brother shrugged. He needed it for school. Mom said, "Relax, it's just a laptop, not like he stole your house." I put my son behind me and said, "Keep defending a thief. You'll hate what comes next." By 6 a.m., Dad was pounding on my door. "Keep defending a thief," I told him. "You'll hate what comes next." My mother laughed. Not a nervous laugh. Not an uncomfortable one. A dismissive laugh, the kind that belongs to a woman who has spent 30 years watching one son absorb everything without making a sound and has come to believe that is simply his nature. She laughed because she believed I was bluffing. She had always believed I was bluffing. She was standing in my kitchen. She had driven 40 minutes to stand in my kitchen and tell me to let this go. She was wearing the coat she wore when she meant business, the gray one, the good buttons. She had prepared for this conversation. She had decided, before she arrived, what it was going to be and how it was going to end. She had not prepared for me. Tyler was behind me, 14 years old, one hand resting on my shoulder, not because he was frightened, but because that is where he had moved when the voices got loud. The way you move towards something solid when the ground starts to feel unsteady. I had felt his hand come up before I even registered it consciously. My shoulders dropped half an inch when it landed there. That is the thing I keep returning to. Not what I said. Not what Gerald said. Tyler's hand on my shoulder, steady, without being asked. My father Gerald was in the doorway of my kitchen. 61 years old, broad shoulders. The particular stillness of a man who has decided he is the authority in any room he enters. My brother Darian was not there. He had sent our parents to manage the situation, which tells you everything about Darian you need to know. "Your nephew is 11, my mother Sylvia said. Her voice had dropped to the register she used when she wanted to sound reasonable. He did not understand what he was taking. He carried it out in a backpack, I said. Kids do things without thinking. Colt is 11, I said. Not 4. And Darian is 33. My father stepped forward. What Darian said was not handled well. But this is still family. We do not call a child a thief. I looked at him. Tyler's hand was still on my shoulder. Darian shrugged when I asked for the laptop back, I said. He said Colt needed it for school. I checked. Colt's school provides tablets to every student. Darian lied to my face about my son's property. Let me tell you exactly what that looked like. Tyler's room door had been open all afternoon. When everyone left, Tyler came to the kitchen and said, "Dad, my desk." I walked in with him. The laptop was gone. The charger was still in the wall. Colt's backpack had been noticeably heavier leaving the house than arriving. I had registered it without naming it at the time, the way you notice things that have not yet become problems. Darian's car was already at the end of the street. I called him. He said, "Oh yeah. Colt needed it for school. He'll bring it back. No ask, no sorry. Just he needed it stated the way you state a fact about the weather." That was the moment. Not the shrug, not the laugh that came later. That first sentence, "he needed it," said in the tone of a man who has never once considered that something belonging to my son might require his permission. My mother opened her mouth. I spoke first. "Keep defending a thief," I said again. "You'll hate what comes next." My father's jaw tightened. My mother shook her head like I was being dramatic. They left without another word. I closed the door. Tyler's hand dropped from my shoulder. He said, "Dad, what comes next?" I said, "Go finish your homework." He went. I stood at the kitchen counter for a moment. My hands were completely steady. That surprised me, not because I was calm, but because I had been building to this moment for 14 months, and calm was the only thing left. I opened my laptop and I got to work. Before I tell you what I did that night, you need to understand what my brother's life looked like from the outside and what it actually was underneath. Darian drove a leased BMW X5. Matte Gray, 2022. The sport package with the upgraded wheels that added another $4,200 to the sticker price. The lease was $180 a month. I know this because Darian told my father at a family dinner 8 months ago. turning his phone screen to show the payment schedule with the ease of a man who has confused the cost of something with its value. My father nodded and said that's a serious vehicle, and Darian smiled the smile of someone receiving exactly the response they arranged the dinner for. His wife Kendra had a standing appointment at a day spa every other Saturday. $340 per visit, not including tip. She posted about it regularly, the white robe, the cucumber water, the scented candle on a marble tray, the self-care Sunday caption that appeared with a Saturday timestamp. The comments were full of friends saying, "You deserve this." I noticed that she had been posting these for 11 months. I noticed Darian had been calling his period of getting back on his feet for 14 months. The math was not complicated. Colt attended Westfield Prep, $14,000 a year in tuition, not including uniforms, activity fees, or the technology levy that had gone up this year. Darian mentioned it at every family gathering, usually within the first 10 minutes. He said Westfield the way people say the name of a place they believe makes a statement about them. My mother would repeat it to her friends later. Darian's boy goes to Westfield. You know. She said it about Colt the same way she used to say it about Darian's business ventures, with the confidence of a woman who had decided that proximity to ambition was the same as having it. Total monthly burn for Darian's life, somewhere north of $6,000 before groceries, utilities, or any of the other costs that accumulate when you live a life built on appearance. Darian's actual income, unclear to anyone who looked closely, which no one in my family did. His business, Mercer Supply Co., was registered 8 months ago. Construction supply distribution vendors, contractors, project managers. He had a website with a stock photo of a warehouse that did not belong to him and a tagline about connecting industry leaders with reliable supply chains. When family asked how business was going, he said things like scaling carefully and building the right relationships first. My father would repeat these phrases to me later as though they were evidence of competence. The right relationships. My brother wanted to build relationships in the construction supply industry. I have spent 12 years in that industry. I know every significant contractor, every major vendor, and every project manager worth knowing within 400 miles. We will come back to that. My family thinks I work on construction sites. This is not entirely wrong. In the early years, I was on sites constantly: boots, hard hat, high-vis vest, the whole physical vocabulary of the work. I liked it. I liked the weight of the materials and the logic of the sequencing and the specific satisfaction of watching a thing that did not exist become a thing that did. My father used to describe my job to people at family dinners by miming someone swinging a hammer. Everyone would nod politely. I would nod politely too. What I actually do, I am a senior construction project manager at Harmon Group, one of 4 regional firms of this size operating in the state. I oversee large-scale builds from initial scope through final commissioning: hospitals, municipal buildings, commercial developments, anything above $3 million that requires a dedicated project management team. My current project is a $4.2 million hospital wing on the north side. Before that, a $3.8 million school renovation that came in 11 days under schedule. Before that, a $1 million commercial center that is now the largest privately owned retail development in this part of the state. My name is on the completion certificates for all 3. I manage budgets. I manage vendor relationships and contractor networks that took 12 years to build. I manage compliance reviews on supplier applications, third-party assessments to confirm that the companies we work with are financially stable, operationally capable, and legally clean before we authorize them into our supply chain. My signature on a compliance determination has stopped or approved projects worth more money than most people see in 10 years of work. My firm receives dozens of supplier applications every quarter. Mercer Supply Co. had submitted one 6 weeks ago. I want you to hold that for a moment. I will come back to it. My family had spent 12 years watching me leave the house in practical clothes and come home tired and draw their own conclusions. Darian once described my job at a family gathering as construction stuff, and then turned the conversation back to his own ventures before I could respond. My mother thought I worked outdoors in the physical sense. She once asked if I got cold on the sites in winter, which told me everything I needed to know about what she had imagined. My father respected the steadiness of my work, but not the scale of it. He thought steady and modest were the same thing. Not one of them understood that I had managed more combined budget value in 3 years than Gerald had earned in his entire working life. Not one of them understood that when Darian decided to enter the construction supply industry, he was stepping directly into a world where my relationships were infrastructure. He thought he was starting a business. He was asking to be let in through a door I held the key to. There is a version of this story where the laptop was the beginning, where Colt walked out with Tyler's $1,600 laptop, and that was the first time my family had taken something from me. That version is not true. I was 21 when Darian borrowed $1,200 from me. It was my first real paycheck from my first real job, a site coordinator position I had worked 2 months to get. Wearing borrowed steel-toed boots because I had not yet bought my own. He said he needed it for car repairs. He said 3 weeks, maybe 4. I gave it to him because he was my older brother, and I believed, at 21, that those two facts meant something binding. 2 months later, I saw a photo on his phone when it was sitting on the kitchen counter at my parents' house. New gaming chair, new monitor, new everything. I looked at it long enough to understand what I was looking at. When I brought it up, my mother said, "He needed it more than you right now. You've always been the stronger one." That sentence. I have thought about it many times since. Not because it hurt, it did, but that is not why I kept it. I kept it because it revealed something. The stronger one did not mean the one who deserved better. It meant the one who could absorb more. It was a compliment that was also a policy. I filed it. I file things. I was 25 when Darian took my car for a weekend. A used Honda Civic I had spent 18 months saving for $8,400 in cash. No loan, no help. I was proud of that in a way I did not know how to say out loud. It was the first thing I had bought that was fully mine. He returned it Monday morning. Cracked front bumper. No explanation offered, no apology prepared. He handed me the keys the way you hand someone something you are done with. The repair estimate was $1,400. My father put $150 on the kitchen counter and said, "Let's not turn this into a thing. It's exhausting when brothers keep score." I paid the remaining $250 myself. I thought about the 18 months it had taken to save the $8,400. I thought about how long $250 takes to rebuild when you are 25 and just starting. I did not say any of that out loud. I filed it. I was 29 when Priya left. She did not leave because of one thing. She left because of a pattern, the way my family treated my time, my money, and my attention as resources they had standing access to. The week she moved out, I sat in an apartment that had always been ours and was now only mine, and I felt the specific weight of a silence that used to hold 2 people. I sat with that for about 4 hours. Then Darian texted, not to ask if I was okay, not even to acknowledge that anything had happened. Rough, bro. Anyway, can you Venmo me $300? Electric bill. I sent it. I have thought about that decision many times. I do not fully understand it. Maybe it was easier to do something concrete. Maybe helping was the only reflex I had left. The transaction is still in my Venmo history. The note field says electric. I have never deleted it. I was 33 when I organized Colt's 7th birthday party. Cake from the bakery Tyler liked. Decorations I bought the weekend before and assembled the morning of. Bounce house rental that took 2 phone calls and a deposit of $380. Balance $460 on the day. Total, $840 on my credit card. I did it because Tyler wanted to go, and because I wanted the cousins to know each other. That is the reason I would give if anyone asked, and it is true. The other reason, the one underneath, is that I still believed then that gestures like this built something that the accumulation of showing up would eventually be visible to people who kept not seeing it. Darian posted 19 photos. The caption on the main one said, "Did it big for my little man." 47 likes. My father liked it within the hour. My mother left a heart emoji and the word precious. My name was not in any caption, not in any comment, not anywhere in 19 photos of a party I had organized and paid for. 4 rooms, 4 items. The museum had been building for 12 years. Tyler's laptop was not the beginning. It was the moment I decided the museum was full and I was done being the curator. Tyler was asleep. The apartment was quiet in the specific way it gets quiet after 10 p.m. No traffic, no neighbors, just the hum of the refrigerator and the particular stillness of a place where a 14-year-old has finally stopped moving. I opened the spreadsheet. 14 months. Every transfer I had made to cover what the family called Darian's difficult period. I had kept the file since month 2, not because I planned to do anything with it, but because I am a project manager and project managers document things. It is not a conscious choice. It is how I am built. Month 1, $1,800 rent. Month 2, $1,800 rent, 390 utilities. Month 3, $1,800 rent, 390 utilities, 190 internet. Month 5, car insurance added, 420. Month 7, Darian's phone plan, $180. Every month after that, $2,980, same number, like a subscription. 14 months, $41,720. I looked at that number for a long time. Then I kept scrolling through the folder where I kept family documents, not because I was looking for anything specific, because when I am processing something, I open files and read through them the way other people pace or make tea. I found it in month 9 of the folder. A document I had half remembered seeing Darian had mentioned it in passing at a dinner 7 months ago. Something about securing additional capital, and I had noted it without asking follow-up questions because I had learned not to ask Darian follow-up questions about money. A loan agreement. Business loan, $60,000 for Mercer Supply Co. Co-signer, Gerald Mercer, my father. I read it twice. Then I set the laptop down and sat back in my chair and looked at the ceiling for approximately 30 seconds. Gerald had co-signed Darian's business loan 8 months ago. Quietly, without telling me. Without mentioning it in any of the 17 conversations we had had since then in which he asked me to be patient with Darian. To be understanding, to remember that Darian had children. Gerald had co-signed the loan. Which meant, if Darian defaulted, if the business folded, if the payments stopped, Gerald's credit rating was destroyed alongside it. Which meant every phone call where Gerald said Darian just needs more time, Kane. He has a family. Every one of those calls was not a father trying to hold his sons together. It was a man trying to protect his own financial position. The patience he had asked me to have. The understanding. The "you are the stronger one, Kane. You can absorb more," all of it running alongside a $60,000 cosign he had never disclosed to me. All of it asking me to keep the transfers flowing while he quietly shielded his own credit from the consequences of Darian's choices. I sat with that for a long time. I thought about the museum. 4 rooms. All those years of absorbing things without saying anything, filed away, kept current. I had built that museum believing the pattern was unconscious, that my family simply did not notice what they were drawing from me because they had never thought to look. This document suggested someone had thought to look and had calculated accordingly. I closed the folder, I opened the compliance file, then I opened the Mercer Supply Co. compliance file, the one my firm had received 6 weeks ago when Darian submitted his supplier application. I read through my own preliminary notes. Unresolved vendor references. Misrepresented operational history. 2 line items that, if I flagged them, would trigger a mandatory third-party review. I had not flagged them yet. I had been meaning to get back to it. I flagged them that night. 3 things. Quiet, methodical, in order. First, the transfers. 14 months of standing orders: rent, utilities, internet, car insurance, phone plan. I canceled each one individually, one account at a time, because I did not want to do it with a single bulk action that felt like a gesture. I wanted to do it the way the transfers had accumulated, one at a time. Deliberate. Each one its own decision. Each cancellation took about 30 seconds. Confirmation email. Next one. I did not feel much while I did it. That surprised me in the moment and does not surprise me now. 14 months of building that spreadsheet every month, adding a line, watching the total grow, filing it without acting on it, that was where the feeling lived. The cancellation was just the closing of a door that had already been decided. I felt the way I feel when I finalize a scope reduction on a project. The decision has already been made. The documentation is already done. What you are doing now is just making it official. Second, the compliance flag. I submitted the formal notation on the Mercer Supply Co. application at 11:14 p.m. 2 discrepancies flagged: misrepresented operational history on the primary filing, unverifiable vendor references on the supporting documentation. Both were items I had identified in my initial review 6 weeks ago and noted for follow-up. I was following up. Standard procedure. Third-party review required. Estimated timeline, 2 to 3 weeks. Darian's pending project approval, the $340,000 contract he was trying to land, required clean supplier status. It would be on hold until the review concluded. Third, the industry message. I am in 4 professional networks in this field: contractor associations, regional project manager groups, vendor directories that have been running for years on trust and reputation. Darian had been trying to establish Mercer Supply Co. In all of them. I had noticed his name appearing in the periphery over the past 2 months. Connection requests, a comment here and there, the particular visibility of someone working to be seen. I sent one message, one group, the largest one, the one where introductions and endorsements carry the most weight. Neutral professional phrasing: anyone worked with Mercer Supply Co. Need vendor feedback before approving a supplier application. I did not accuse anyone of anything. I did not mention Darian by name. I asked the question any project manager would ask before bringing a new supplier into a significant project. The question was genuine. I did need vendor feedback. I was processing a supplier application. Every word of it was true. I turned off my laptop at 11:47 p.m. Walked to Tyler's room. Door cracked, light off. The particular silence of a teenager asleep, different from an empty room, in a way that is hard to articulate, but unmistakable once you know it. I stood there for a moment. Tyler's room still had an empty space on the desk where the laptop had been. He had not put anything in its place. He had just left the space. By morning, 3 accounts would show 0 balance. 1 compliance flag would be on file. 1 industry question would be sitting unanswered in a group of 400 contractors. I went to bed. The knock started at 6:03, not a knock a pound. The difference matters. A knock is a question. A pound is a demand. I was already awake. I had set no alarm, but had not slept past 5:30. I heard the first impact on the door and lay still for 4 seconds, then got up, put on a shirt, and walked to the front door. My father was on the porch. Behind him, at the bottom of the steps, my mother Sylvia stood with her arms crossed over her coat. The sky was the particular dark blue that happens in the 20 minutes before sunrise, everything visible, but nothing warm yet. Gerald's face had the expression of a man who had decided he was in the right before he left the house. Fully committed, no room for new information. My Uncle Burl was across the street. He had been on his morning walk. He lived 3 blocks away and walked the same route every day at 6 a.m., had for 15 years. He had turned the corner as my parents were getting out of their car. He had stopped. He was watching. Gerald did not see Burl. Or he saw him and decided it did not change anything. You canceled the transfers, Gerald said. Not a question. I did. You flagged Darian's application. I did. You sent a message to the industry network. I said nothing. Gerald stepped closer. His voice dropped, not softer, just more concentrated. You are doing this over a laptop, over a child making a mistake. I am doing this over 14 months, I said. You're doing this to punish your brother. I'm doing this because a pattern needed to stop. Gerald looked at me for a moment. Then he said it. Loud enough that his voice carried loud enough that Burl, still standing across the street, could hear every word clearly. "You put a child between yourself and your own family," Gerald said. "You used your son as a shield. What kind of man does that?" Across the street, Uncle Burl stopped walking. I looked at my father. I felt nothing shift in my chest, no anger, no hurt, no urge to respond. Just the clarity of a man who has been told, in front of a witness, exactly who his father believes him to be. I reached into my back pocket and pulled out 4 folded pages. The spreadsheet, printed last night. Every transfer, every month, every amount. 14 months. $41,720. And at the bottom, 3 lines I had added. Gerald Mercer, co-signer. Loan amount, $60,000. Date, 8 months ago. I held it out. Gerald did not take it immediately. He looked at it. Then he took it. He unfolded it. He read the first page. His eyes moved down the columns, the months, the amounts, the running total. $41,720. Built 1 line at a time over 14 months. He turned to the second page. Then the third. His lips moved slightly on one of the larger totals, not reading aloud. Just the unconscious movement of a man doing arithmetic he had not prepared to do at 6 in the morning on someone else's porch. His hands did not shake. But something happened to them. They went from the controlled stillness of a man holding something with purpose to the flat stillness of hands that have simply stopped, like a machine that has been switched off mid-motion. He was holding the pages but no longer gripping them. He turned to the 4th page. His name was at the bottom. Gerald Mercer, co-signer, $60,000. The date. He looked at it for a long time. Sylvia said from the steps, "Gerald, what is that?" He did not answer. His jaw tightened once, one small controlled movement, the only visible thing he allowed. His eyes stayed at the bottom of the 4th page. The early morning light was coming up behind the trees, flat and blue-gray. In that light, my father looked smaller in his certainty. The way people look when they have been standing in a position they believed was solid and have just felt it shift under them. Sylvia came up the steps. She stood beside him and looked at the page he was holding. I watched her eyes find the bottom line. Gerald Mercer, co-signer, $60,000. Her head turned toward him. Gerald, her voice had changed. Not angry something before angry. The voice of a person who has just realized a conversation she thought she understood had a room in it she was never shown. "You told me Kane was being unreasonable. You didn't tell me your name was on Darian's loan." Gerald said nothing. "You didn't tell me," she said again. Quieter, he folded the pages. Put them in his coat pocket. Walked back down the steps without looking at her. She stood on my porch for a moment, not looking at me, looking at where he had been standing. Then she followed him. I closed the door. I stood in my kitchen in the quiet. The refrigerator hummed. From Tyler's room, still early enough that he was asleep, nothing. Across the street, Uncle Burl stood at the edge of the sidewalk. He watched the car pull away. Then he looked at my door for a moment, not moving, not waving, just looking, the way you look at something you want to make sure you have seen correctly. Then he turned and continued his walk. I called Burl that evening. He answered on the second ring. "I saw," he said, before I could say anything. "I know. I heard what he said about the boy." I did not say anything. Burl was quiet for a moment. Then, "You know what I remember about you? When Priya left. I came over, you remember that?" "I remember. You hadn't eaten. I could tell by looking at you. I didn't ask about any of it. I just put the bags on the counter and I left." "I remember. You called me 3 days later," he said. "You said, 'Thank you for not asking questions.' That was the right thing," I said. "Yeah," he said. "It was." Another pause. "Kane, that thing your father said this morning, about using Tyler as a shield. I heard it. I heard it too," Burl said. "Gerald was wrong. I want you to know someone was standing there and knows he was wrong." I held the phone for a moment. "Thank you, Burl," I said. "Don't thank me," he said. "Just take care of that boy." I said I would. Darian's BMW disappeared from the driveway on a Wednesday. I know this because I drove past on the way back from dropping Tyler at school. The spot where it always sat slightly too far from the curb, always a little crooked, was empty. Oil stain on the concrete where it had leaked for months. Nothing else. Tyler was looking out the window and I did not say anything and neither did he. I turned back onto the main road. That evening, Kendra's Instagram went private. Her last public post was 11 days old, a spa photo, the signature robe, the cucumber water, the caption about recharging. After that, nothing. The account was there, but locked. I noticed because Tyler had asked if Colt had posted anything about the laptop, and I had checked, and the account was private now. I closed the app. The Westfield prep call came on a Friday. I know this because Darian called me that afternoon, first time since this started. He did not say hello. The school called, he said. I said nothing. Fees are outstanding. They said if it's not resolved by end of month, I know how school fee notices work, I said. Silence, Kane, the compliance review, the industry thing, the transfers. You did all of that. I flagged discrepancies in your application that I had documented weeks ago, I said. I canceled transfers from my own accounts. I asked a professional question in a network I've been part of for 9 years. You destroyed my business before it started. I asked if anyone had worked with you, I said. That's all I did. Another silence. What do you want? Darian said. I thought about Tyler's hand on my shoulder. I thought about the $840 birthday party and the Venmo receipt I never deleted. I thought about the Honda Civic and the $1,200 and the museum with 4 rooms and the walls full of things I had filed and never said out loud. Tyler's laptop, I said. In the condition it left this house. He brought it the next morning, left it on my porch, rang the doorbell and was back in his car before I opened the door. The case had a scuff on the corner. One of Tyler's saved project files had been partially overwritten, 8 months of work on a music track, partially corrupted. Tyler sat with it for an hour. Then he said, I can rebuild the second half. I still have the stems. I said, take your time. Gerald left a voicemail on a Sunday morning. He had never left me a voicemail in my adult life. Phone calls? Yes, Gerald always called rather than texted. But voicemails meant he had called and I had not answered, and he had chosen to continue rather than call back later. The voicemail was 2 minutes and 14 seconds. He started with my name, then a pause longer than a breath, then something that had the cadence of an apology in its early stages, the pacing careful, the tone lower than his regular voice, the way voices get when someone is trying to mean something. For about 40 seconds, I thought he might actually arrive at the word. Then the cadence shifted. Darian's kids have done nothing wrong, he said. Whatever happened between you and your brother, those children had no part in it. A long pause. If you could just look at the situation from a father's perspective. The voicemail ended there. He ran out of sentences. I have thought about that voicemail many times. Not what he said. What he did not say. 2 minutes and 14 seconds, and he could not find the word. I imagined him sitting somewhere after he hung up kitchen table, probably the one where he had made every significant family decision for 40 years, holding the phone, not quite ready to put it down, not calling back, not texting, just sitting with the fact that he had tried and it had not worked the way he needed it to. I sat with the phone for a moment, then I deleted it, put the phone face down on the counter. Sylvia's letter arrived 3 days later, handwritten on the good stationery cream paper, her careful cursive that told me she had drafted this more than once. First paragraph, she was sorry for how things had been handled at my door. Second paragraph, she hoped we could find a path forward. Third paragraph, she missed Tyler, and she hoped he knew that none of this was about him. Fourth paragraph, Darian's children are struggling, and I know you understand what it means to put a child first. I read all 4 paragraphs. I folded the letter along its original creases. I put it on Tyler's desk that evening without saying anything. He read it, put it in his desk drawer, said nothing. I said nothing. He understood. 2 weeks after Darian left the laptop on the porch, The Mercer Supply Co. compliance review came back. 2 findings. Neither resolved. Application denied. Darian could reapply in 12 months with corrected documentation. The $340,000 project he had been building toward collapsed with it. The right relationships, he had said. Building the right relationships first. He had been building them in my industry. Through networks my 12 years of work had made possible. The doors were still there. They just were not open for him. 3 weeks later, I was standing at the window of my site office on the hospital project. The building was at 73% completion. Steel frame visible through the upper floors, curtain wall panels going up on the south face, mechanical contractors running ductwork on the 3rd floor. The site had a particular sound at this stage, layered, constant, purposeful. Nail guns and saws, and the deep bass of concrete trucks cycling through the gate. You stop hearing it after a while. Then you notice when it stops. My team was 4 days ahead of schedule. That almost never happens on a project this size. I had spent 2 weeks solving a sequencing problem with the mechanical contractors that would have cost us 8 days if I had not caught it early. I caught it early because that is what I do. My phone buzzed. Tyler, voice note. I played it with the phone against my ear. He talked for 11 seconds first about the stems, about the reconstruction, about a synth choice he had changed from the original that he thought worked better now. His voice had the particular focus of someone describing something they have thought about carefully. Then the track started. 41 seconds of it. The rebuilt second half, the half that Colt had corrupted, rebuilt from the ground up in the 2 weeks since the laptop came back. He had submitted it to an independent label's open submission portal that morning. He said this at the end of the note, quickly, like a detail he was not sure deserved its own sentence. Just wanted you to hear it. Before anyone else. I stood at the window for a moment. Darian had listed the BMW on Facebook Marketplace 6 days ago. I had seen it while scrolling past Matt Gray X5 2022, starting at $47,000. The post had 11 comments, 9 of which were people asking questions with no follow-up replies, one of which was someone saying it was overpriced, one of which was Darian responding serious buyers only. The price had dropped to $41,000 2 days ago. No sale that I could see. I thought about the spreadsheet. $41,720. 14 months of a number that had accumulated quietly in a file, doing nothing, while I kept telling myself I was just keeping records. Until it did everything in one night. I thought about Tyler's track. 8 months of work, partially destroyed, rebuilt in 2 weeks into something he thought was better. I thought about the empty space on his desk, where the laptop had been the space he had left rather than fill it with something else, and what it looked like now with the laptop back in it, screen open, the track playing back through his headphones at 11:30 on a school night. Below me, the site moved the way good sites move when you have built the right team and done the right preparation and caught the problems early enough to solve them cleanly. Steady, each person doing exactly what they were there to do. I put the phone in my pocket. I had a meeting in 20 minutes. I went to get ready for it.